Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky, who is a very, very happy Dolphins fan today. Hello, good morning.
It happened.
It finally happened.
It happened.
McDaniel saved his job, thank God.
For a week.
And
thank you to the Jets and probably the most unhappiest coach in the NFL, Aaron Glenn. Poor guy.
Look, brother, and I'm not going to say poor guy. I'm not going to say it. I'll explain exactly why when we get to this game, because personally, I think this is all brought upon himself.
I think it's the city. I think it's the whole organization. But I will say thank you because the Dolphins, they gave you 3 or 4 different ways to beat us.
It's true.
And they couldn't pull the trigger. But yes, we'll get into the sad Monday night football games. We'll talk Monday Night Raw. We'll talk with all that wrestling talk with our boy 24KG at 8 o'clock. And if you'd like to text in your World Series prediction, text it in 661-842-2000, because after our show, you do not get Greg Kerr. You do not get the Money Wise guys. We are giving you baseball all day, today and tomorrow, starting off with the Tigers, Guardians, Padres, Cubs, Red Sox, Yankees, Reds, Dodgers. 4 back-to-back baseball playoffs start today, baby.
Between today and tomorrow, you're going to have a jam-packed schedule right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Feel free, chime in every single day. Games will start at 9:30. From what I am seeing here, that will be the Tigers and Guardians, and end with the Reds and the Dodgers tonight at 6 p.m., as Sparky just said. But we'll get to baseball here at some point, because we do need to let you guys know what's going to happen here in the World Series, or at least what we think is going to happen here on the way to the World Series. The Wild Card Series is always fun. It's always entertaining. And when these when these series go 3, that just makes it even more pressing. That's why, as a Phillies fan, very happy I don't have to deal with this. Very, very happy, but it is what it is. Let's talk about the football game last night. Let's start with Sparky's Dolphins. Again, even while losing Tyreek Hill, who at the beginning of this game looked like he was about to have one of those classic Tyreek Hill games. I mean, 6 catches, 60-plus yards, leading everybody in the game. And then the unfortunate thing happens of the sideline tackle wrapping up his knee. This is what I'm talking about, though, when everybody says that the original form tackling was dangerous. And again, this is just something that popped up when I was coaching Pop Warner. And I'm watching these kids, and again, they're teaching us the proper way to tackle now, which is the Seattle way of tackling back during the Legion of Boom. Wrap up the legs, turn.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous. I said that's more dangerous than taking a kid, hitting him in the chest. Like, you're endangering legs and knees and ankles, and we all know what the heck happens when you twist an ankle. So at this point, I mean, again, this is the bang plays that we're going to have to get used to in football now. We were talking about it yesterday, the increase in ACL, MCL injuries and whatnot and what's causing it. Personally, I think it's this. I genuinely think it's this style of tackling. Not to say that we, should get rid of tackling altogether, because I get there are dangers of hitting people up top, but we've got to find a middle ground here. We've got to find something that's going to work where these guys don't have to worry about their knees or their ankles being ripped apart. But at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill, dislocated knee, torn ACL, numerous ligaments in his knee have been destroyed. He will have to go get surgery, I believe, today, if he's not already in it. Do you think this is a potential, and I hate to say this, knock on wood, but career-altering, at least, if not career-threatening injury to a wide receiver, especially somebody of his size and speed?
Definitely.
I mean,
definitely. And, I was talking to our buddy Scott Cox down the hall, and I was saying the same thing. I mean, if he was, going into year 2, year 3 or something like that,
right.
But I mean, this guy's getting older. He's already made enough money for 2 of us, 3 of us. And, I think on the safe side, I think Tyreek will try, he'll try. But personally, I mean, the way like you were just saying, the way the NFL has pushed people to tackle, I mean, it happens a lot more than it needs to be. And I know the field was wet. I know it was the side of the field. I mean, either way, it's bound to happen a lot more than, a concussion or just getting
Right.
popped. And I was saying it for a while because there's some of these that look gruesome and they pop right up.
Yes.
And it's just the luck of the draw. But that one last night, man, it reminded me of Napoleon McCallum watching the old Raiders when his knee popped the other way. And I was like, oh,
that was
and
rough.
This one, I mean, even though he popped right up and was smiling and like, that's adrenaline.
Yeah.
That's just what they do. But man, it was tough to see. And I mean, all our prayers are with Tyreek and his family, and hopefully he can get a quick and recovery. But I think this is the age where he's in. I would personally don't think we'll see him in at least at that type of fashion.
At least at that ability that we've all known him to be, he's definitely going to take a step back. But the more and more I was thinking about it last night, and the more I watched the injury, it's just one of those where, like you just said, where he is in his career, how he plays, it's hard for me to justify that he's going to be able to play, or at least play the way he would want to play. And I mean, we saw it, what was it, last year or the year before that, where he tried to play on a broken finger or a broken toe? I can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah, I know you had a broken wrist last year.
That's what it was. Thank you. And he tried to play on that, and look how much that affected him. You know what I mean? And again, not to throw it, if this sounds like I'm throwing shade in Tyreek's area, I'm not in any way, shape, or form. But it's just one of those situations where you really have to think about it in that light of, this is going to be detrimental to his career. And again, not that anybody's really bringing up the form tackling as the reason why this is the problem. Personally, I think that this is part of the problem.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing because I don't like it. I don't like the way that they are able to take the leg and twist it.
Right. And that doesn't, it, like, logically, you look at that and say, no,
That's not a healthy way to tackle anybody.
No. Like, dolphining somebody, essentially grabbing both of their legs and turning, which is what they teach you to do now.
Yeah.
To grab you in the thighs is where they're telling you to aim, but whoever actually hits the thigh, you're always hitting the calf or the ankle area.
It reminds me of the Stephanie Vaquer move that she does, and I still turn my head when she does it. I'm like, I'm waiting on an injury with that one, but
we'll get to that too, because I hear a rumor of her crown jewel champion, or her crown jewel challenger, I'm sorry, might have some relationship issues right now.
Well, I will get back some positive news in that day on that damn game. But one thing I've been circling around, I was happy to see Darren Waller. Yes. And I've been saying it for months. Tua is not Tua without a tight end.
Yep.
You know, he's made his career on, whether it was Mike Gesicki, Jonnu Smith, and now finally having Darren Waller. And you could see Tua looks more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And yes, it was against the Jets, but I will guarantee there is some offensive weapons that you guys haven't seen yet, whether it's Malik Washington, Darren Waller, Ollie Gordon's finally getting some carries. Mm-hmm. Plus, Jalen Wright hasn't even played a game yet. So, I mean, there's still an upside. Miami is a very young team. And, I mean, they get to travel to Carolina this week. So we'll see what Dolphin team shows up this week. But it's definitely – they're going to have to change it up a little bit, obviously, because defenses obviously circle around Tyreek.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, to go even further, I don't even think it's Tua that doesn't look right without a tight end. It's McDaniel. When you really look at the offenses that he's run, especially with the 49ers, he's always had a stellar tight end. George Kittle.
Multiple.
He always has had somebody that's a big body that he can rely on to make those plays. And Darren Waller, luckily for you, is not just a big body. He's essentially a wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
So it works out in your favor. I like what we saw. Obviously, he didn't play the whole game. He played when they needed him to. Both of those times, or I shouldn't say both of those times, multiple of those times ended up in touchdowns.
And it opened up where Julian Hill can actually be the blocking tight end that was supposed to be, not a tight end one.
And that's what you kind of need from him. You allow the running game to get going with A-Chain, who, again, has had flashes of looking great, but you're still kind of, I feel like there's another giddy up to this horse that we haven't seen.
Oh, yeah.
Like he just hasn't been able to break out, at least in this season.
And this was 16 penalties by the Jets. And I'm like, I was even shaking my head because usually it's the other way around.
Yes. And honestly, some kudos, or at least bright sides for the Jets. Justin still looks solid. A 43-yard touchdown run was a pretty nice one, I won't lie, especially on a 4th and 1 play that you needed. But there are still some discipline issues, I would say, are the biggest problem for him. And it really boils down to decision making in some of these areas. And I mean, again, don't hear it from me. Hear it from guys like Breece Hall, starting running back of the Jets, who saw it himself that this team really just shot themselves in the foot, or in his case, the head.
It's just a tale of, 3 out of our 4 losses. Teams will shoot themselves in the foot, and we come back and shoot ourselves in the head. So you can't win if defensively, if offensively, if we're not converting on 3rd down, if we're not getting us to 3rd and manageables. We're in 2nd and 25, 2nd and 20, 1st and 15, like getting stupid, dumb penalties and stuff. So that's been the frustrating thing because, we're moving the ball up and down the field at will, how we want to, or we'll come down and, get to the strike zone and then boom, 15-yard penalty, 10-yard penalty.
Fumble.
Yeah, no kidding.
But my question is for you, like we started the segment out, I mean, it looked like Aaron Glenn was he was pissed in the first quarter, and he never got that face off him. And I listened to Unsportsmanlike, and they had longtime Jet fan Greeny on this morning saying it's not Glenn, it's not just Fields, it's not just this and not just that. It's the Jets as an organization, and his problem is they're going to tear it down, and then they'll get rid of the head coach or the GM before they have enough time to rebuild this team. And that's been going on for 20 plus years. Do you think it's more than the coaching, or it's just their organization and what the blueprint is that they break it down and then they don't stick around with, the coaching that is going to be there to rebuild? They'll bring in another guy and, let him spend all this money in salary cap,
right,
and then break it down before he gets any time to build.
To be honest with you, there are a lot of teams in the NFL where I feel like they are more organizational issues than they are coaching issues. I think the Jets are definitely one of them. They have not been successful since the Rex Ryan days, if you really want to get technical about this. But I get Greeny's frustration. I mean, you look at the Robert Saleh situation. They didn't exactly give Saleh a positive chance to really make a difference with the New York Jets, and forcing him to essentially use Aaron Rodgers when you really didn't need to do that is really what shot Saleh in the foot and lost him his job, especially when him and Rodgers didn't get along. And the owner said, well, I mean, we're done. We have a whole video on this on our YouTube page.
I was going to say, we talked about that.
We talked about Woody's incredible just tirade back then when he fired the GM and fired Saleh and was talking about getting rid of Rodgers and saying, we're blowing up the ship. But
we knew then in that same video we were talking about this is going to backfire because now you're putting a Band-Aid and this team needs to rebuild.
Right. But the other issue I see here is too, and I echo the sentiments of Chris Canty, which we'll play the audio here in a second. I don't think Glenn's the guy. I really don't. And again, as I said at the beginning of the show, Glenn's doing this to himself. He is the one who came into this season acting hard with Aaron Rodgers, saying, if you don't want to play football for us, we don't want you. Okay, well, the guys you have that want to play football for you, Aaron, aren't playing football. They're not winning. So this is all on you. This is 110% on you. Now, granted, I'm not saying that the Aaron Rodgers situation would have saved you, because it wouldn't have. But at the same time, when you come in with that mentality, it's kind of like the Liam Cohen thing. When you come in with that, I'm the big bad dude, I'm the coach that's going to do this. And I know he wants to do this because he's a former Jet, played for the Jets for a long time, has had probably his most notable years as a player with the Jets. So obviously you want to give back to that organization. But do it in a smart way. You knew coming into this that this was going to be a rough start. It's the Jets. You didn't have anything yet. In fact, the two things that you did have, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson at the time, were ready to leave. You coming in obviously fixed that, which is a great sign for the Jets. But at the same time, your entire culture, as Chris Canty said on Unsportsmanlike, and we'll play right now, doesn't work. It's not acceptable, especially if you want winning football. Let's hear from Chris real quick.
If you're Aaron Glenn, this brand of football is unacceptable. You shouldn't tolerate losing a football game that way. It's different if you're outmanned, the other team has more talent, the other team has a better scheme. But last night, the Jets didn't even give themselves a chance. You had 16 called penalties, 13 accepted. 6 of them were pre-snap penalties on offense between false starts and illegal shifts. And then on top of that, with the post-snap penalties, the personal fouls, that is completely unacceptable. And then the turnovers, for God's sake. You had 2 opportunities in plus territory in the first half and didn't get any points out of it. One should have been a field goal. Justin Fields ends up fumbling on 4th down. The other one, Braylon Allen's got the ball going into the end zone for a touchdown and fumbles the ball. It was a lot less about the Miami Dolphins winning that game and a lot more about the New York Jets giving it away. And if you're Aaron Glenn, that cannot be acceptable.
Oh, no, 100% not acceptable. But again, how much of that is on you? Personally, I can't fault him for the fumbles. And prayers up for Braylon Allen as well, who also left this game with an injury. But the penalties, the issues you have with the line, all of these small things, that's on you as a head coach. And if you had this entire culture set up or ready to go for the Jets, and it's this, Jets fans aren't going to be happy. You're going to be out of a job within a couple of years and back probably as a defensive coordinator for somebody. But as of right now, as it sits, I'm going to put Aaron Glenn down as one of those guys who is probably a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. And that's just me. I mean, if there are any Jets fans out there that want to challenge me, I know a lot of Atlanta or Falcons fans and everybody were ready to blow up the ship 2 weeks ago. I was not, but it's kind of the same thing. When you lose faith in some people, everybody's ready to call it a bust or whatever. I'm in that boat when it comes to the Jets. This team is not a good team. At this point, you're probably just as bad as the Tennessee Titans. And that's saying something because their quarterback is coming out and saying literally how ass they are. We didn't even pull that quote for yesterday. We should have. That was probably one of the best post-game pressers from a rookie quarterback I've seen in forever. Because not only did he call out the team for not playing well, he called out the coach. And without even saying his name. And at this point, the Jets, I'm in the same boat there. Justin may have fumbled the ball. That's fair. Braylon fumbled the ball on the way to the end zone. That's also fair. But what about the rest of it? 16 penalties? That's on you, homeboy. Multiple instances where they, like I argued with the Falcons against the Carolina Panthers, you're coming out of timeouts and you don't get a play run? You have to call a timeout for yourself? That's on you. That's a head coaching issue. So again, that's where I'm at. I don't believe in, I just don't believe in him. I don't believe in Aaron Glenn. I don't think he's head coach. I really don't. He could change my mind. Obviously, things are obviously always open to developments.
Now, if I was the Jets, I would be on the phone with Rex Ryan.
Absolutely.
I don't like the guy. I don't like the Jets, but I think he is at least has the mindset and the attitude to at least fix part of this.
Not to before we go to break, but I saw a video this morning. I had to ask you because I wasn't aware of who the coach was, but who is this Miami coach that says you guys need to be more violent? That's clearly trying to.
Our defensive coordinator.
Is that the D coordinator? Okay, good. This guy is clearly trying to win that head coaching job when McDaniels eventually is cut loose.
As he is probably the only one left.
It's probably
but
true.
That defense isn't any better.
No, and that's what I was like, you know what? That's a really cool rally cry from the coach. But then I looked at the comments and all the Dolphin fans were like, are you nuts? Your defense isn't violent at all. Right. And I'm like,
well, he's just trying.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, at least he's trying.
Yeah.
But I saw that video and I had to figure out who that was because I was like, well, somebody's vying for a job here.
And I'm telling you, man,
it
sounds crazy, but the more I watch Gruden lately, he is pushing for this Dolphin job.
Well, everybody is. Belichick apparently is. John Gruden is.
His recent podcast, all he does, he'll talk Dolphin football for 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay.
You know what's funny? That's what he did before he went back.
I would love it, but we'll get into the other Monday night game, which was more of a snore fest as well, but we'll have our comments on that. We'll get into baseball. We'll get into everything. And text in your World Series prediction to 661-842-2000. We are the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m., as well as streaming live video every single weekday from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can find all of our episodes right there on our YouTube channel at the Early Bird Special, or I believe it's Early Bird EBS Bakersfield. I can't remember exactly. Just type in the Early Bird Special. You'll find a little logo there, a little cartoon bird in the worm, ESPN writing. You'll be able to find us pretty easily. Like, share, subscribe, all that type of good stuff. Let's talk about this Broncos and Bengals game, which, again, I tried to tell y'all. I've been harping this for how long, Sparky? 3 weeks?
At least.
Jake Browning ain't a dude. He's not. I love Rich Eisen. I listen to his show daily. Same with Pat McAfee. But Pat doesn't give Jake that much love. He'll give him the player kind of love, saying, we believe in you kind of stuff. But even they know he's not the guy. This team is desperately missing Joe Burrow, as they have for multiple times through his career. And at this point, I swear to God, if he goes down as the next generation's Andrew Luck, because this guy, I mean, every time he leaves the field, we see just how good he is and just how bad Cincinnati is. Because, don't get me wrong, going against a defense in Denver that is very formidable, Patrick Surtain was all over the place. And I'm telling you right now, Patrick's probably the only corner I've ever seen, or I shouldn't say ever seen, but have seen in the last couple decades that actually wants to tackle. I mean, this guy flies. It's fun to watch. But there ain't no reason they should have lost 28-3. Have some pride. The offense, or at least the offensive coordinator, got to figure something out to get some scoring going, to get some offense rolling. And to be honest with you, I know I poo-pooed it a couple weeks ago because I didn't really think it was a possibility. But Taylor might be on the chopping block too. And solely because of this type of play, what I'm just talking about. There was no adjustments. There was no him saying, hey, that clearly didn't work. We need to get Jamar the ball. So we're going to do this, this, and this. Nope. They just let Jake drop back, say, all right, find your guy. And he kept throwing to everybody else, including Chase Brown, who, again, probably saw the ball more times last night than he has in the past 2 years and still didn't do anything. I'm just saying, this Bengals team is a completely different animal, and it's a little kitty cat when Joe Burrow ain't playing.
And I've seen it myself with my own team, but, I mean, you have to know, with his history, you have to have a plan B, and I get it. You spend all your money on your receivers, and you spend all your money trying to get a quality team out there, and you don't have a plan B, and that's what happens when I get it. I totally get it. But what's next? Are they going to run with Browning the rest of the season?
They can't.
Or are they going to – I mean, I listened to other shows after ours yesterday, and it's really – I mean, the Russell Wilson – is it going to be Kirk Cousins? And they both come up with questions.
Yep.
Okay, which version of that can be? But it's obviously better than what you have. Or do they try to go with a younger guy? Do they try to? I mean, obviously, I don't think Cleveland's going to give you anything. So, I mean,
I'd love to say that
what's
Cleveland
the option?
would ship one of these young quarterbacks to him, but you're right. I've said it a million times. Interdivision trades just don't happen.
Unless you want to come get Watson.
Yeah, and it's like, well, actually, that probably wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility with the Cleveland Browns dealing with what they have right now. And to be honest with you, Deshaun wants to play from everything we hear.
Do you see them just putting their hands up and riding this out?
Knowing how Cincinnati runs their organization, probably. I mean, we've talked about it a million times when it came to the Trey Hendrickson situation. They're cheap. They are a cheap organization. It is very widely known now. And even if you're not, even if you as a person are not, you have shown the world that you are. So everybody's going to run with this story. And at this point, it's weird to say that you need to plan for your quarterback to be injured, but you're right. Joe Burrow has been hurt so many times in his career that at this point, you really need to have a solid B just in case. And Jake Browning ain't that guy. He may start with a B, but it sure as hell ain't him. 14 for 25 for 125 yards. And I swear I didn't even watch this game till the second half just because I was so enamored with the Dolphin game. But at the same time, I kept looking up the scoreboard saying 14-3, 21-3, 28-3. And I said, well, that's going to be a boring game to switch to after this. That's great. And then I looked to see how Jake Browning was doing. He didn't even have 100 yards yet in about 3 quarters. And I said, oh, it's that kind of a day. But again, I've been harping on this all week. I told you guys this was going to be the worst game of the weekend. It ended up being the worst game of the weekend. And once again, the NFL has given us back-to-back technical stinkers. I wouldn't necessarily say the Dolphins-Jets game was
If it wasn't
stinker.
for those beautiful jerseys they were wearing last night, it would be hard to watch.
It would have been, especially with all the penalties and the rough play from the Jets. It wouldn't have been the best game, but this is just kind of the NFL's way.
Like I was telling
saying,
Scott, man, get it over with early in the season.
Yep, get it done.
Every team gets one.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you don't want these teams playing. Now, obviously, coming into the season, they were hoping that this Bengals-Broncos game would have been a completely different situation. But that's football, baby. This is what we get. Just injuries happen all the time. You have to live with it. As far as what the Cincinnati Bengals need to do next, go shopping. I don't care who it is. Go shopping. Whether it's Deshaun, Kirk, somehow get Cleveland to ship you one of those rookies that they're not going to use, probably Shador, since they're apparently so keen on playing Dylan Gabriel, which we still haven't heard if that is even going to happen this week for the Cleveland Browns, even though Joe Flacco is probably playing the worst football of his career. And at this point, what do you have to lose? But they'll probably won't do anything. Knowing the Cincinnati Bengals, they'll probably go 2-15, have the first overall pick next year, and hopefully
Get another receiver.
Well, I was going to say use that as an offensive lineman to protect Joe, or to protect Joe and keep him upright. But let's be honest, you probably don't have the money to pay him.
Exactly.
You probably don't got the money to pay him. So what are we talking about? Because Trey's going to be gone next year. Shamar hasn't exactly stepped into that spot at all. You barely were able to pay him, mind you, your first-round draft pick from last year, which is the easiest thing to do in the NFL, as Adam Schefter has plainly made it out to be. It's the wildest thing in the world to me. But again, there are organizations that have issues, and then there are teams that have issues. 2 teams that have massive organizational issues: Cincinnati and the Jets. I'm going to call you the New Jersey Jets because you're not the New York Jets. New York don't claim you. You're the New Jersey Jets. So at this point, until they fix the organizational issues, I don't think any kind of positive things are going to be going forward for either of these teams. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills. There is something that I wanted to float to you, Sparky, that was brought up on the McAfee show yesterday. We talked about, and along with everybody else in the sports world, the fact that the NFL needs to get rid of ties, or at least in the regular season. I agree with that. But McAfee brought up a really interesting thought process that might be a good substitute for a tie. We'll give you all of the info on that on the other side of the break. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Okay, this has to be a new one. Okay. Did they drop the whole CD finally?
No.
Oh,
It's just the chorus of that first one. But they
Biscuit, what's
it
going on, brother?
Sounds similar.
I mean, a little bit. It's
I will say,
classic.
people hate on Limp Bizkit. I will say I've seen them multiple times,
He's a fantastic.
and they are badass live.
You
I
know
don't
what's
care what you say.
what I think is funny about it is his just the evolution through his life and his
Yes.
career. How he started as a red hat wearing white boy that rap. Now he looks like a cowboy on stage.
Exactly. The first time I saw him was with Eminem at the Anger Management.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
was full on
It's a
90s
fantastic
era,
show.
early 2000 new rock type. And then the last time we saw him at Aftershock, he was straight up
He's a
dressed like
completely
Garth
different
Brooks.
guy. Yeah, he's a completely different guy. And who's is it the guitarist
Wes
that
Borland,
now
man.
Wes Borland
He
looks like
is-
he should be from Kiss?
Yeah.
And it's like, boy,
The
what is
first
going
time he
on
was
over
dressed
here?
like a monkey and it was hotter than hell. I was like, how the hell is he wearing this?
Look, brother, if that's what you want to wear on stage, my guy,
He's a
go
badass
for it.
guitar
I am
player,
all
too.
for it as long as you shred on that guitar. I could not care less. Let's talk about this entire NFL issue that everybody has been talking about for the last 2 days, since obviously one of the better Sunday night football games we've seen, the Cowboys and the Packers on Sunday, ended in a 40-40 tie, and everybody was confused and shocked and wondering why we aren't getting more football. Well, unfortunately, that's just how the overtime rules go.
So what did Pat have to say?
So obviously they were all harping on the idea of you should just stretch it out to 15 minutes instead of the 10 minutes, which totally makes sense, especially since we really watched 2 drives eat up the entirety of that overtime. But I also like this other rule that he has. Now, obviously, for those people who don't know, Pat McAfee, longtime punter in the NFL, probably a Hall of Famer at some point, I would assume, just because of his impact on the game and what he's doing post-career will most likely elevate him to that status. Plus, outside of Shane Leckler, I don't know a lot of punters with the better name recognition than Pat McAfee. And that doesn't mean, and that isn't because he's a TV personality. That's because he was on the Colts for 12 plus years as one of the better punters in the league. But he has a pretty solid idea. It's called the Golden Boot Rule. What the Golden Boot Rule essentially is that at the end of overtime, we would go to a kickoff between the kickers. Snap, hold, kick. That's it. Nobody in the way. Just snap, hold, kick from the 50. From a 50-yard kick, and then you go back in increments of 5 until one kicker loses. You can either kick from the hash marks or dead center, to whichever one the kicker's discretion. And first one to make one and essentially miss one on the other side, that's the winner. Essentially, a game of horse between the kickers to determine who wins. Personally, I think that's a great idea. Now,
it'd be entertaining.
We don't add points to this. Let's not get crazy. We're not going to see the game get up to 60-60 because of field goal kicks in a double overtime. But it's essentially football's version of the shootout for hockey. Allow your best guy to go one-on-one with the goalie. First one to make as many goals as you can, and I believe 3 to 5 chances. I can't remember exactly how many you get in hockey. Please forgive me. But regardless, I think this is a good idea. And it brings more importance to special teams. We would actually have another reason to, stress how important special teams are, how important having a good kicker is. And it's not like these kickers are going to be, having anybody crashing down on them. It's a snap, hold, kick thing. But at the same time, it would also allow you as a team to kind of figure out if your kicker's a real kicker or not. Because if he can't make a 50-yarder with nobody in his face, I think you could pretty much say that guy might lose his job.
It would be entertaining.
But I think it would be great.
I don't think it would ever happen, but
No.
I mean, it would be almost the same thing as what if you just put a punter in the back of the end zone and see who could punt the farthest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
But
again,
I just seriously think they need to do something. Whether it's that idea, any idea would really is whatever would stick on the wall.
Mhm.
But I mean, personally, I only thing I could think of is just extending it like we did with the field goals. All right, well now it's 0-0. We do it again,
Mhm.
double overtime, and continue to do it. But then you start to think of the health of the players, the fatigue. Now you're going into a 6th quarter or whatever you would look at it. But I mean,
I just feel like this rule kind of
It's
It
really
helps
going to
them.
hurt these teams either way if you look at it as playoffs get closer and, it's a half game or
Right.
this. The big conversation has been if this is going to come and haunt the Packers at the end of the season,
Yeah, probably.
when it comes to home field advantage, or if the Packers are even the
Well-
real deal right now. Because, after losing to the Browns and then tying with the Cowboys, they're definitely not. Luckily, they're going into a bye week this week. But if they can't regroup, this Packers team doesn't look like the Super Bowl Packers and the MVP, blah, blah, blah. But, hey, it's still the first month of football.
It's still super early, but you're right. I mean, realistically, going to a second overtime, I'm sure the NFL isn't really keen on because, again, like you just said, more opportunities for injury. But I feel like this rule would kind of combat that, right? One, everybody gets a chance to score, so you can't sit there and say next field goal wins, and fans aren't pissed off because their team didn't get a chance to
They
win.
just paid a couple grand to watch a tie.
Exactly. Two, it is again, like I said, a showcase for your kickers, and it actually means something for the special teams, gives them a chance to be the hero. And three, I just feel like this is a simple way to get it done, time constraining wise as well. You're not going to be sitting there for an extra 20 to 30 minutes waiting up until 2:00 in the morning on the East Coast for this game to end. Although I'm sure there weren't any Cowboys or Packer fans on the East Coast that were really complaining about it being 1:00 in the morning and their team competing. But it's just, I don't know. I like this idea. I think it would bring a little bit of just flair a little bit to it. And again, how often will we actually see it? I know we all talk about this tie as if this happens all the time. It's happened 17 times in, I think, the last 30 years or something of that nature. 17 times more than necessary, I would say. But the likelihood of it happening multiple times in a season, very, very unlikely. And I do kind of see why people are concerned that this is going to, at the end of the year, be probably the thing that stops the Packers from getting a home field advantage or potentially even winning the NFC North. Because who's to say the Lions don't come back and start playing the way they used to last year, and then we see the Lions on top again because the Packers ended up tying a game with the Cowboys. It wouldn't be surprising to me. It really wouldn't. But I think this is at least a solid, solution that we don't have to, one, and again, like play a game that was longer than needs to be. And two, it gives other players the chance to actually be the hero for their team. And to be honest with you, with the game progressing the way it is and essentially leaving special teams in the dust, I think we need to make rules like this, or at least tweak the game a little bit like this, to allow those special teams players to still get a shot. Because I'm going to tell you right now, everybody sits there and says, oh, the kicker and the punter are the two most useless positions in football. Shenanigans. You clearly don't pay attention to what happens on special teams.
I was going to say that our punter won our game last night.
Exactly. I mean, there have been multiple instances where kickers have won the game for you. You think Brandon Aubrey in Dallas right now is a captain of his team for no reason? Like, it is a very important part of the game that is really being left behind. And if we lose it all together, football's not going to be the same. So I feel like this is a great way to really, everybody wins. Everybody gets what they want. At first I was listening to McAfee say it yesterday, and I'm not going to lie to you. At first I thought he was talking about what you originally said, put the punters in the back of the end zone. Let's see who can kick the farthest. And I was like, that would be kind of dumb. But no, when I actually sat down and realized what he was saying, oh no, this would be very entertaining. Could you imagine if we had Justin Tucker and Sebastian Janikowski with a kickoff at the end of a game to win it for either the Raiders or the Ravens? You really are not going to say you would love to see those two kick a potential 65-yard field goal and break the record, by the way? I think it would be interesting. That's just me, but I would love to hear from everybody else that's listening right now. 661-842-2000. Do you guys have a solution to these ties in the NFL, or do you just kind of agree with McAfee's boot rule? Because personally, I think this is the best solution we've gotten from any pundit. And that's saying something coming from Pat McAfee. I love Pat, but much like myself, he's a doofus.
Well, before we get out of the football world and get into wrestling with our boy 24KG, we'll take our break and we'll get to your text. We'll wrap up this hour, and then we'll hear from our boy 24KG at the top of the hour right here on the Early Bird Special.
Are we allowed to play the song?
The first 20 seconds.
This is the early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield 101.1 FM 1230 AM. As soon as I heard this song too, I said, "Wait a minute, hold up! I don't think we can play this." Sorry, I'm all thrown off now.
Well, the first text we had
Yes, let's get
was,
the text messages.
is Lamar out this week? I'm screwed if he is because of bye weeks.
So that's the big question. A lot of people are talking about with this Ravens Chiefs game. Lamar moved out of the game, or at least removed from the game in the third quarter due to a hamstring injury, is what we understand.
I don't think they could put butt hurt on the injury report.
But see, that's the thing, because everybody's questioning when this happened. Because it didn't happen during the game. Definitely didn't happen during the game. So it had to have happened during practice. But John Harbaugh has come out and said, well, we can never know for sure. Yes, you can, John. Yes, you can. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what's going on in Baltimore Ravens town right now. I think that they are just really, really, really down on themselves. Because remember, outside of the Packers, not a lot of teams came in with a lot of hype like the Ravens did. A lot of people, including myself, were donning them the best team on paper, and I still stand by that statement. If they could ever figure it out.
And now they've got, 3 defensive guys out?
Yep, including their top defensive guy, really.
Pile up.
That sucks, too, especially when it's a neck injury, and it's like, God, that could really be a bad thing going forward. But yeah, defensively, they're now stunted. Offensively, they have a fumble problem. I don't know if this was more of a move because he was down on himself, or if they legitimately just see something that, you're
not yourself.
You're not yourself. Exactly. They know Lamar better than anybody. They see Lamar every single day at practice. They know what Lamar can do and how easily he can turn that switch and become the video game version of himself that everybody loves to watch. But this is such a weird thing to do, because Harbaugh is claiming he could not have come back in the game. Everything that I watched in that game, especially Lamar on the sideline, made me feel like he could. And that Lamar was very upset that they were pulling him out of the game. So I'm not sure exactly what happened. It's unclear if Lamar will be practicing at all this week. I will be monitoring that very closely. And if he does not practice this week, I wouldn't play him. I don't think he's going to play. And whether that is because they know of some sort of deep hamstring issue that he's dealing with, or maybe it's just them trying to send a message to him, God only knows at this point.
Yeah, and I did see the bye weeks with Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh.
And trust me, I'm hit hard this week too, because I got a lot of players from Atlanta, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh.
I will be happily when it is over, because I could get them all pretty much out this week. But the other text was asking about A.J. Brown. And
another one
we saw this last year.
This one, though, I think is more injury related, because we saw outside of that first game where he really wasn't targeted at all until the end, he has gotten into the offense a little bit more the last couple weeks, and they desperately missed him during that game with Tampa Bay. I mean, you heard me talk about it yesterday. How the hell did you win a game where you didn't complete a pass in the second half? But I think that one is more of an injury related thing. That one is a lingering week to week. So I would probably, just like Lamar, just wait out, see if he practices this week. If he does, play him, because I believe that Philadelphia will want him back on the field sooner rather than later. But that's just where I am when it comes to the AJ Brown
It's the whole Philadelphia offense is kind of making me nervous. And I have Barkley in one league and AJ Brown in another, but it almost feels like we've seen this before. I mean, we saw it early in the season last year, and then they turned it up. Yep. So hopefully it's the same thing for all you Philly fans, or just in general have fantasy players with the Eagles.
Well, and not even just that, but
when on paper, when you draft, Barkley, and you're looking at, Derrick Henry and guys like this, it hasn't been so far, but it's still early, man.
Yeah. Oh, again, first quarter of the season, you're going to have these guys break out eventually. And I think you brought up a brilliant point. We've seen this before when it comes to Philly. And the only difference is Philly was losing last year when this was happening. They're winning now.
That was one of the things that Eisen brought up yesterday, was saying, it's like the Eagles or the Chiefs of last year.
They really are.
Or they're just winning all these close games. And, if that hurts an offense that they're getting by with these wins, maybe they need a loss like that to really wake them up.
Mhm.
Or if it's just the injuries, like you said.
And a lot of people feel that way. But honestly, I'm still trying to scratch my head on how they're winning. Because a lot of these games, don't get me wrong, they're playing well enough to win, but just well enough. But it's like you said, we saw this last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. They did the exact same thing where they took all these great teams to the limit and barely beat them and turned it up when they needed it to. But I think that's why we have these expectations for them and are just being undercut right now because we are so used to seeing them win now. I mean, if we counted last year's incredible win streak, I'm pretty sure this is 20 games now, at least in a row of something of that nature, or at least we're coming up on 20. And like I just said, if they're playing this bad right now and beating teams, imagine what they're going to do when they actually get back to that level, which is probably going to happen at some point in time during the year after a loss. I'm going to say it's going to happen after a loss. But Nick Sirianni, I'm not going to lie, he's becoming one of the best head coaches in the NFL. And if he can find ways to win without completing a pass in the second half, that's incredible. I don't care who you got at quarterback, running back, does not matter. The Philadelphia Eagles have a winning formula, and they're just going to ride with it as long as they can. We got to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk all things wrestling with our guy, 24KG. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. And welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And it is time, as it always is on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, to talk to our guy 24KG and talk all things wrestling. My friend, how are you? Hope you are doing well. Well, real quick, actually, before we get going, for those of you who don't know, our guy KG here has been dealing with some family situations. We just want to give our condolences to you and your family. Obviously, unfortunately, losing your grandmother is never a good thing or easy to deal with. So, my friend, just from all of us here, we hope you are doing well, and we hope the family is doing well as well.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. We are in good spirits. We're blessed. My grandmother lived to be 102 in her right mind. It was a beautiful homegoing and send-off. I appreciate all the love. I'm just surprised we didn't get because my grandma's a grand champ of the family. I'm surprised we didn't get an appearance from Brock Lesnar. He's always taking titles from somebody. So I appreciate Brock staying out of family business. But we've got a couple of Brock sightings in WWE we need to talk about. So let's get to it, gentlemen.
Well, okay, let's talk about what we saw on Friday, because the three of us were texting during this, and we talked about this at length last week. Who was going to walk away with the women's title? Tiffy ends up retaining, beating both Jade Cargill, who walks away with a boxer-size cut on her eyebrow.
Nasty work.
And another just incredible botch from Nia Jax, somebody who is a constant professional and a constant veteran in the game, and yet somehow continues to have these bad days.
This was, I'd say, a little bit beyond the realm of botchisms. This was a complete collapse at the end of a match on live television, folks.
Let's main event.
Let's
main event of that.
Let's take it back to a couple weeks prior. We haven't seen Nia Jax really on mainstream television for a reason that Chris pointed out. She got the Mark Henry, Braun Strowman treatment. Let's send you back to developmental. Well, third brand, if you still want to call it developmental, NXT.
Yeah, it's really not developmental anymore.
Get your fundamentals kind of, recertified. You're kind of getting that stigma again that you're not a safe worker, which we've seen a couple years prior when she punched Becky Lynch and sent her to the soaring heights of notoriety that we know as now. Well, lightning doesn't strike twice in this case. It's just Nia Jax. If you look back at the replay, you can either blame it on a trip, a push, an untimed shove into the steel steps, depending on your opinion, viewpoint, or angle of how you've seen the replay. You could say it was Jade's fault. She's still relatively green. But then again, when you have somebody with the experience of Nia Jax that has this, dark cloud over her head of being an unsafe worker, you should kind of take a little bit more care of your opponent just in case they get a little butterfingers or stutter step and she goes head first into the steel steps. I don't think a boxer-sized gash is an accurate description enough. It looked like, I'd have to say, a car accident. It's one of those things they show you, red asphalt and driver's ed, what not to do. And it was rather disturbing. The fact that they let it play out for as long as they did also surprised me. And it threw off an entire sequence towards the end of the match. Now, credit to Jay for picking her up, giving her that slam, getting into the camera, feeding into it. Those things that happen on the spur of the moment do make great television. But when you can see someone's skull meet, it's not how it looks in the movies, folks. That's real flesh and blood getting ripped open on television, which WWE is not pro-color. Color meaning blood, live on TV, unless it's a part of a match, unless it's by design. When these things happen, panic ensues. As you can see, when you go back to the replay, medical staff came down there. We had the referee incident where, and this is where I got to give credit to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon would say, hey, if you miss your cue, 1, 2, 3, the match is over with. Vince McMahon was with that. And everybody's at fault. Who's at fault is fired. But we're in a different time. And that's about the only praise I'm going to give Vince McMahon outside of his professionalism. But I'm going to just say this. Maybe that spot was supposed to be Jade coming back in and grabbing the referee and yanking her leg.
Right.
We couldn't do that. Couldn't see that. Wouldn't communicate with that when you're being attended to by medical on the side for a 4-inch gash that turns your eyebrow into a piece of bacon. That's all I got to say about it. Now, credit to Tiffy for trying to hold it together. You know, we can clearly see, Nia Jax asking the referee, oh, snap, I was supposed to kick out. Maybe she, got a little dazed, confused, mixed up, maybe worried about her opponent on the outside. A multitude of things could have factored into this collapse of a match. We got the finish, and here we are, folks, with our hands up like, I don't know what happened.
I know I brought this up to you over the weekend. We talked about it in the car, but personally, I think that some people do need to be fired for this. I don't think it's the wrestlers, the referee, though. Personally, if I'm your TV director,
woo, let's talk about it.
Because this is now multiple times I have seen WWE television keep a camera close up on a mess up like this and not tried to change the angle. If you had changed the angle with a cutaway there, instead of us seeing right dead center of Nia saying, oh, I was supposed to kick out here, and then 10 seconds later going, ugh, like that could have been fixed. That could have been at least bandaged if the director did his job correctly and moved to a different camera angle.
Well, this was probably the worst I've seen in a long time.
I agree.
Well, I would have to agree also. And the fact that they're not taking advantage of the 7 to 10 second delay in broadcast is baffling me right now.
I mean, just one that got brought up that I saw not too long ago was the match between Rey Mysterio and Undertaker. When Rey jumps onto Taker, he's supposed to do essentially just a sit down on his chest, goes too high, hits him in the head, gives him a concussion. And then that led to Taker kind of messing up what was supposed to be the ending, which was catching Rey and putting him in the tombstone.
Yeah.
They used that 7 to 10 second delay to get rid of the part where Taker messed up. Why could you not do that here?
I was about to ask the exact same thing. My only thing is, they need to have a production meeting, maybe get in with the camera crew and put some people's feet to the fire on this, because there have been some cringe angles lately. And we're not going to go ahead and just pick this whole thing apart. But over the last 3 months, I can consecutively say that the lackluster of WWE's camera work, which they're known for, has been apparent. And you're seeing it more so with complaints from sponsorships, parental groups. TKO is a internationally traded company now. This isn't owned by one guy anymore that can just silence board members. You have people that have big stakes involved in this, and those stakes need a little bit more sauce on them, so to speak. So with ESPN calling them out as a partner in their PLE program is another point that we could make on them expecting more or just a better product.
Absolutely. But again, I mean, the only person we could really name out would be Stu, and that's not necessarily fair because Stu's just the only cameraman that everybody knows his name thanks to John Cena. But I just was watching the show on Friday, and I agree with you. There have been multiple instances where I'm watching matches, and I'm like, dude, you could have cut to a better angle. Like, that didn't exactly look great. And all I'm seeing across the internet right now is how displeased fans are with the product from the main roster. NXT is doing fantastic. TNA is doing fantastic. I mean, AEW is even doing fantastically on the opposite side of the spectrum. But we get these faults from Raw and SmackDown. And I'm going to throw this out there just to see how you feel about this, my friend. And also you, Spark. But I feel like this happens every single year right before Crown Jewel. I feel like we get this sense of lull because we have to stop literally every story that you want or was going. You have to stop all of them to appeal to the Crown Jewel PLE and the Saudi Arabian people who want specific matches at that PLE.
Well, I would have to say it definitely does throw off your natural progression of storylines, but also those three brands that you just mentioned, as much as they are alike, they're very different in the aspect that SmackDown and Raw are covered more heavily through social media than any of those three. And much like that, there tend to be spoilers nonstop, theories nonstop. You could also compare it to movies. We see a movie trailer now, and it's like we watch the whole movie pretty much. Now producers have to throw in Easter eggs that aren't in the film that are going to throw off people and whatnot. And since it's being so heavily covered, rumors going to run rampant. Analyzation is going to be just spilling over everywhere that you can see in anything that you can click, read about it, or just get some type of valid information from. It's going to be a lot of misconstruement about it. But one thing for certain, when you throw something to the left and you're going right, people are going to notice. And that's what happens every year. You are correct. Around this time, whether it's in Saudi Arabia, whether it's in Paris, whether it's in Perth, Australia, it tends to deviate unless, and this is the only time I'll say this, where a storyline can bring in everything in a curvature, and that's Seth and Cody right now because of the history that they have, because of what's being built around it. You know, a lot of people are coming down on Triple H's later half of Creative in 2025 for saying, oh, it's on autopilot, it's this and that and whatnot. It's not living up to the expectation of, well, hey, some things just have to simmer a little longer. Now, I'm not saying everything is good coming out of there. A lot of things coming out of there has been crap, straight wet crap. Literally, you ever stepped in wet crap on your lawn? It's difficult. It's disgusting. You don't even want to see it. And that's how some of these matches have been playing out. But nonetheless, when things are so heavily covered, you can't, hey, Sparky, you feel me? When things are so heavily covered like this, you can't help but to look at it and go, something doesn't look right. And we're seeing a lot of it doesn't look right come from everybody in every direction.
Well, I will say the same thing I told Burdick when I came in this morning. This is the probably 2 or 3 weeks in a row where I was not happy with whether it was SmackDown or really especially Raw. And I don't know, maybe you guys would know more, but maybe it is because it's a rushed PLE and it kind of screws up all the stories or the botched matches, or I almost feel like they might have just bit in too much into the media when it comes to, it was Netflix, now it's ESPN, and now they have so much to build up on that they aren't almost, they looks like they're not ready.
A little bit. You know, this whole thing, we could say started here, there, but we're right here in the present at this point.
Exactly.
And we can really say, like how you just pointed out, the lack thereof. There has been more so of that in this year than I've ever seen in WWE, with just jump or cut to storylines or dropping a storyline in the middle of. You know, Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, whatever the fact, Jacob Fatu, U.S. title, Shinsuke Nakamura, who knows, question mark, all these things from the undercard, from the main to the mid card. Literally, there has been blotches and spots in the build to certain matches with the rush of PLEs. When you put too many of those out there, string them together, what are you going to do? You know, like, is it you can't fit everybody, but you can, but you're stuck on this 5-match, staging where
you could do it, though. That's my thing.
Yeah, you could add more people in there, but they don't.
You could
I don't know what
do
this
that
formula has got them thinking of. They're giving us a product that people are actually happy with, because if you look online and see what people thought about paying $30 for ESPN just for that match at WrestlePalooza, you're gravely mistaken.
No, absolutely. But here's my thought process, though, is you can kind of combat that entire, like, we keep seeing the same people at PLEs. I know you want to see, Roman and Seth and Cody at every PLE, but what I think the WWE needs to do, especially since we're getting these things so closely back to back to back, why not go back to the old ways of doing it, where you pretty much scheduled 2 PLEs at a time, where you had 2 separate cards being built at the same
Cody
time.
in one and the other
exactly.
one.
The other one has Roman, and you get, Backlash will have this match, while, the next one will have this one, and you can set it up perfectly for all of the roster to get in on this instead of a select few 15 guys.
And that would probably give them an option of expanding the roster.
Right. But the issue that I see that they keep running into, and is, I mean, just to tighten myself up, I realize that Crown Jewel is not in Saudi Arabia this year, but it doesn't matter. Crown Jewel will forever be the Saudis' baby. That is their PLE. You can move it to whatever city you want. It's just like Clash at the Castle. We could sit there and say Clash in Paris happened. Sure. But Clash at the Castle will always be Scotland's PLE. Because when you hear Clash, you think Clash at the Castle. You think them going to Scotland, being in this entire castle-like feature. So it's like I know they still have a hand in who gets to go and who's, having a match and who's not. And again, I just think it's to a point now where it's like, are we really going to stop everything creatively that you're going to have with all of these champions just to have a one-on-one one-off between Steph and Tiffy and Cody and Seth? Cody and Seth at least have already a built-in story that you can run with, because Seth being the guy once Cody left along with CM Punk, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing as the CM Punk story.
Well, I definitely
Tiffy and Stephanie.
I definitely agree with you both. You both have valid points. And to answer what you just stated earlier, this all went away with 2 PLEs at the same time as soon as they dissolved the brand exclusivity. You know what I mean? Just things that were exclusive to this show and SmackDown, exclusive to Monday Night Raw, were dissolved as soon as these mergers became prominent and drafts. And then you kind of did away with the rules of the draft and people started show jumping. It kind of just jumbled itself into what it is now. And you see weak builds that lead on to jump cut storylines that never get picked back up. A confusion amongst the, I'd have to say, not so casual audience watcher, member or show watcher versus hardcore fans or regular fans that are like, okay, I'm lost. And that's where you get a lot of venting and frustration on the internet with people that are just not happy with the product. We pro Tiffy over here, but even her run has not lived up to what it could be or still can be. She's beat them all. They've run them all through there, and they've repeated it. So they've watched and repeated her storylines and feuds so many times that they need to do my suggestion. Remember when they did the champion exchange? We basically just exchanged this brand's champion with this brand's champion, and you guys swap titles. Something like that needs to happen, because I'm tired of seeing Tiffy versus Nia for the umpteenth time.
Is that on them, or is that really just on how they didn't have a backstory to throw, and they let her run through everybody, and now it's kind of just boring with what they've kind of fed us?
But see, that's
that lack of creative right there.
Exactly.
She hasn't run through anybody though. The only
same people
really had it's Nia and Jade.
Exactly.
And I mean that, and I grant you that is all that they have right now, but it's like you could easily move some of these superstars from Raw over to SmackDown.
Exactly.
I mean, you were just talking about
I'm
it.
feeling the same way with Damian Priest.
100%.
Yeah.
Damian being on SmackDown is pointless at this point. What are we even doing? He was a champion just a year ago. Barely. And you've really given him the back seat. He's no longer the guy you want in the front. Like, I don't get it. You were all talking about him as if he was a young Undertaker. And now we're barely getting him in matches against Aleister Black.
Yeah.
For no reason either. Like, they just keep this thing going.
That whole story was
point.
a snore fest.
Absolutely.
And I'll go back to Raw.
Which it shouldn't have been. On paper, it looked great. But like you said, when you seen it, it was like, what are they doing?
Yeah, there was no real story. But going into what we saw last night, I mean, obviously the Raw or the Dom and Rusev match was probably the highlight. I mean, the Asuka deal I thought was awesome.
Of course.
I
love the centipede face paint.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome.
But Asuka speaking in Japanese with the subtitles is so villainous. Like, anytime she's not in the ring cutting a promo, we need to see that with the subtitles.
You realize, though,
way more intimidating.
That's one of WWE's biggest problems, in my opinion, though, is that when they have these international superstars, when they're heels, they let you speak your native language. But when you're a face, you have to speak English.
Yeah.
That bugs me. It bugs me to my core.
I bet it bugged Andrade all the way out.
I bet it did too. But at the same time, it's like, you can't do that, because that is just villainizing their native language.
Come on now.
Like, it's terrible to do, but I agree with you. Asuka looked fantastic last night.
But I mean, just going down what we saw last night. I mean, I'll throw in the AJ Styles Dragon Lee match, the LA Knight match, the Raquel match. I mean, they were all snore fests.
Absolutely. I mean, can we bury the El Grande thing finally? Are we done with this? Like, I couldn't even tell that was Tyler Bate, and I don't even think that was.
How did this happen?
Who was the other guy with him, though?
This can't be because Chad Gable got hurt. No. Somebody's ribbing somebody backstage. Somebody's setting somebody up for failure. Somebody owes somebody some contractual obligated money or matches. And I don't know what's going on right now. Look, y'all can come at me in the comments because literally if you guys are happy with the product you are seeing, something is really, hey, check your tap water. I don't know. Get an air filter or something. I don't know what's going on, but literally it's becoming worse and worse. The decline of every show leading into these PLEs and then stacking the card does not save it.
Right.
It just
and that's
doesn't.
what I'm saying. And that these mid-card matches are all falling flat on their face. And I'll tell you why the Damian Priest and Aleister Black thing didn't work. It's because of the same guy. They're the exact same guy. The dark, broody martial artist that loves to beat people up and doesn't take crap from anyone. That is
Steven Seagal.
Exactly.
I mean, if anything, they should have teamed them up.
Exactly. They should be a tag.
They would be great
they put
in
them
faction
against each
together.
other. And I'm like, I just don't get it. I
And
don't
is it
understand.
just me that I'm bored out of my mind with the Usos and Braun? And it's just, I've seen it over and over. You can mix it up all you want. I would rather personally just see the Usos fight each other.
At this point, that's what we're gonna get eventually. We're gonna get again just from
there is a phrase that says too much of a good thing is bad for you.
Yeah.
And that match once or twice spread out was great because it had build, it had some interest to it, it had some intensity. But on rinse and repeat, right after we just seen it on a PLE with tables and all kind of stuff crashing in on each other, you run it back on Raw. And you have Big Oos, OTC come in with the interference and this whole, we're going back to this bloodline manipulation story or vibe somewhat of Jay again. And it's very reminiscent, but it's too quick to play on the nostalgia unless they're going to swerve it somehow, which, they're probably cooking that up. And if it's a bloodline angle, I'm pretty sure they're overseeing it themselves for the most part with the help of, the Pauls and everybody else back there. But what's to say for every other match with a failing storyline on the roster that you can obviously see it doesn't get the same attention, care, or forethought about how it's going to be delivered. Let's put it out there. And then we end up with a whole bunch of crap.
And again, with this going into the next PLE at Crown Jewel, which is not this weekend, but next weekend on the 11th, if this one falls flat on its face, being the second PLE on ESPN programming, is WWE in trouble?
Big time. They got called out for the first one, so unless they greased some palms and sent some envelopes full of cash to these guys who are writing these very, very intricate and in-depth analysis about their matches and how they're doing the booking in general, if we get another bad review, I think there's call for a shakeup in creative, and that's not good. For Paul Levesque, that is. So I would have to say maybe all those rumors about The Rock and who he knows at Disney and ESPN, just storyline-wise speculation, actually had some validity. Maybe he spoke them into existence. Who knows? But one thing we do know is that a lot is riding on this next PLE. Viewership, build, storyline. It's this weekend, right?
No, next weekend.
Next weekend, right? So we have one more week to build everything in this burger for these guys to bite into and actually say it had taste.
God, I hope you're wrong, because the last thing wrestling needs right now is a Disney writer to come in and start running things. Did we not see what happened to Star Wars?
Hey, that's
and everything else they've touched. Let's be honest.
It's the lesser of two evils. We work with what we have now, or the mouse comes in and puts white gloves on everything. All right.
Yeah. Well, that leads right into one of our texts. It said, what the hell is going on? Or why is Bret Hart attacking Triple H as much as he has in the last 2 weeks?
Because Bret Hart is Bret Hart.
Did I miss something? Or is there a behind the story?
No, you've missed the last 20 years of how Bret Hart feels about Triple H. If you go look that up, you'll see how he's never changed his stand on the guy. You know,
Bret has always believed that Paul or Hunter, whoever you want to call him, has had something to do with the Montreal screw job, because obviously him and Shawn Michaels are so close. But it's also Bret Hart. Bret Hart has been critical of literally everything the WWE does.
See how that bird's flying? That bird's flying out of form. All right?
And honestly, you know what's funny? They could give the belt to Natty, who's not literally related to him, but is probably the closest thing on the roster, and he'd still find reasons to complain about it. So I don't take a lot of what Brett has to say, at least, about the product to heart, because he's still salty. That's what the end of all of this really boils down to.
In his time, Brett was the guy, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Opinion worth gold. But as time goes on and your moment in the sun starts to, slide to the shade, you can't throw that on people. Now, you can talk about your feuds and all that other stuff, but time moves on without you. And when you're, a sage as Bret Hart is, your opinion is valid to an applicable degree.
But
we'll keep it like that.
When your opinion is nothing but negative things, though, that kind of gets rid of the
everything you've ever done.
You just sound like a bitter old man.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's getting there. He's getting there, but he can still redeem himself. I don't know how.
At some point, I don't know exactly how he can do that.
I don't have experience to answer that question for you, but yeah, just go back and look at Bret Hart's opinion over the last 20 years of Triple H. It has not changed.
No, not at all. And then real quick, before we let you go in the last 2 minutes, did you end up watching the No Mercy PLE for over the weekend? And how do you feel about our boy Ricky Saints getting the belt over Oba?
I'm like this.
Ruler.
Finally. They could have put it on anybody, but Ricky was the right person. He waited out. He did a lot. He's been through a lot, nonetheless, to say that through AEW and how he came in with the name change. And I'm very excited for Ricky. Congratulations. But this means Oba is going to that main roster.
Oh, 100%.
Now let's hope they
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but there's rumor that Chelsea Green is shopping down there in NXT for the new third member of her Secret Service, since Piper Niven is dealing with a neck injury that could potentially, from what I understand, be career threatening.
Yeah.
And that's tough to say, because I love me some Dewdrop. She was fantastic.
There is a plethora of talent on the female roster in NXT right now that would literally skyrocket to the main roster in that position. And hopefully it's somebody that's well-deserving that we see. And if it's not, if it's a total newcomer, just maybe somebody from LFG. We don't know what's going on with that right now, but I tell you.
Oh, I know exactly what's going on with LFG.
Wait, just wait.
I watched the episode last night. I know exactly where we're at.
Wait, before we even get into that, that's what I'm saying. We could see somebody just come in and literally be the next sensation in WWE's women's division. But nonetheless, hopefully they book Oba right. They keep what he's built in NXT, translating over to the main roster, and I think he'll be fine.
He's a presence. He's got to be okay.
I'm waiting to see him answer Sami Zayn's U.S. Open Challenge.
And
we get a new U.S. champ overnight, man.
It's entirely possible. That's how they booked him in NXT. And to be honest with you, he's been a Gunther-like presence down there, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Do you have any early predictions on who will be that Secret Service member, though? Is there anybody down there you're kind of looking at? Because personally, again, I'm going to harp on the fact we haven't seen Tony D in a while. We haven't seen, or I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan Page gets the nod because of their past work together.
Definitely. I would hope it's Ethan Page just in, a male member in the group because they're both Canadian. We seen them work NXT together with the live events. It was awesome. They got great charisma, and you love to hate a heel faction like that. You know what I mean? But if it's not Ethan Page, man,
any women on that list that you can look at? Because there are a couple down there that I think
they just called up Sol Ruka. I can see her tag team partner. What's her name? Zarya. Actually, she might fit that role because, really, we've seen people come from NXT to the main roster and their whole image changes.
Yes.
And she's got the build, the intensity, the athleticism, the look. Nonetheless, no matter how you package her, she's definitely
got the foreign aspect to her too.
Yeah, she could definitely be a force to be reckoned with, and someone who could give Chelsea problems in the future. Because you love to have an internally built-in feud with a faction or a storyline, and it could blossom into something great.
It's got to be a big person to me because both Chelsea and Alba Fire are more of scrappy, smaller wrestlers. Personally,
you got to have a powerhouse.
I think it's got to be Lash Legend.
Whoa,
I think Lash Legend would be a great one to add, although at first doesn't necessarily fit the build of what you have there, I realize, but she'd be a great giant for that group. She has really shined in her couple opportunities on the main roster, and she
can work a heavy style.
List. Yeah, she's honestly on that short list of talent down there in NXT that I would not be surprised to see get called up here pretty soon.
Good,
but my friend, we have officially run out of time. I apologize, but we will talk to you next week.
Yes,
And
sir.
for those of you who are wondering, yes, we are in the works of getting these extra videos done so we could talk all things AEW and everything that we missed in these shows. Do you want to actually tell them the name of the show? Because, I mean, you're the one who came up with it, my guy.
We've decided to unveil the Bump That All Sports and Entertainment podcast for you guys that follow Early Bird, so you guys can stay in tune with what we do here at ESPN and everything else that is sports and entertainment.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's everything that gets bumped specifically out of this segment. So anything that we don't get to talk about in the world of WWE, AEW, NXT, TNA, hopefully we'll be able to cover all of it for all of you wrestling fans out there that want more content, because I know we don't get to talk about it enough on this show. And I mean, that's kind of how we started. We started with a football and wrestling pod, and
That's how we got here.
So, it'll be out on our YouTube channel at the Early Bird Special here very, very soon. Look out for that. But until next week, my friend, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
Once
sir.
again, condolences to your family. I hope everything went well yesterday, and we
Yes,
will talk
sir.
to you soon.
All right, guys. Peace out. You guys like and subscribe. Hit us up in the comments.
Thank you, my brother. We will take a break real quick, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield. And welcome back. This is the early bird special here on ESPN Bakersfield. Want to thank our guy 24KG coming on talking all things wrestling as he usually does. Again, look out for those extra videos on our YouTube channel coming very, very soon. The Bump That segment will be there hopefully within the next week or two. Probably post this crown jewel thing. Maybe we'll kick it off with our thoughts and reactions to that right away, and we'll be able to let you guys know when it is available to you on our Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. So just look out for that. Go like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms at the Early Bird Special to get up-to-date sports and news straight from the source right here at the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield. But let's get to a little bit of baseball as Wild Card is raring and ready to go. You'll have a whole slate of games today. No Greg Kerr show, no Money Wise, unfortunately. They will potentially be back Thursday, depending on how these games go today and tomorrow. But you got the Tigers and Guardians starting it all off right here after this show at 9:30. The Padres and Cubs will be starting at noon. Red Sox and Yankees at 3 p.m. And then Reds and Dodgers at 6. All of these games, excluding the Cubs and Padres, can also be found on ESPN television programming. Cubs and Padres you can find on ABC, if I am not mistaken. This is going to be a fantastic wild card round. And not only because you're going to see two AL rivals going up against each other, and I don't mean two as in two teams, I mean two separate rivalries, because we got the greatest collapse in MLB history, essentially, next to the Mets, in the Tigers taking on the Cleveland Guardians, the team that just usurped them and took that AL Central spot away from the Tigers. 15-game lead as far as about a month ago. And now we might see the Guardians not only steal that AL Central away from the Tigers, but kick the Tigers out of the playoffs in due time. The next one would be obviously the Red Sox and the Yankees, as the Red Sox have their Yankee killer Garrett Crochet going on the mound tonight, hoping to usurp the Yankees, the number one wild card team in the AL. Personally, I think that the Yankees need to worry about this Red Sox team. I would not want to play this young team. They are hot. They're ready to go. And nobody knows how high of a ceiling they have except them. And that is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Obviously, for you Dodger fans out there, I have pretty good belief that the Dodgers are going to skate by in this series. However, you will be going against the fire thrower tonight in Hunter Green in Cincinnati, easily the best pitcher they've had probably since Sonny Gray. I know that hasn't been that long ago, but it was a considerable amount of time ago. And to be honest with you, I think he might have the arm to be able to stunt a lot of these Dodger hitters outside of Shohei Ohtani, because let's all be honest, Shohei is Shohei. It's watching Babe Ruth, and it really don't matter if you're throwing 100 miles an hour or 75. He's going to find a way to crack a home run off of you. The last one would obviously be the Padres and the Cubs. This is going to be an interesting series, in my opinion, just because I want to see what both of these teams are made of. Both of these guys have had players on this roster that you would hope would form into superstars. I know we've watched rookie Pete Crow Armstrong for the Cubs all year long really grow into that guy. We have Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis on the opposite side, but neither of these organizations have been able to really jump over their major rivals, the Cubs obviously being the Brewers and the Padres being the Dodgers. Are they really teams that can usurp these bigger named franchises? And I say bigger name just because of the success they've had. I realize the Cubs are probably a bigger franchise than the Brewers right now. But it is going to be a series where we're going to finally see what these two teams are made of. And if this thing goes to 3 games, we're going to see a revenge game of Yu Darvish taking the mound for the Padres against his former team of the Chicago Cubs. It's going to be a fantastic series all in all. I hope each and every one of these games go to 3, to be completely honest with you, just for the competitive nature of baseball. Sparky, my friend, I know obviously we don't have to worry about anything in terms of our teams playing until October 4th, but what are your thoughts on some of these matchups?
Bring it on. That's all.
That's it? That's all you got?
I hope they go 3 games so I can have an extra day off, but that's pretty much it.
Who would you rather the Seattle Mariners see, though, in the first round? Because coming out of this, you're either going to have to deal
the Tigers.
with you want the Tigers? You don't want the Guardians?
I mean, I don't care either way, but I would push for the Tigers. I have some family that are Detroit Tiger fans. So
really? That's a new one.
Bring
I
it on.
haven't
They're
heard
also
any Tiger
Piston fans, so
okay, so diehard Detroitans. I get that.
they're live local in Detroit. So I mean,
I get that because
Bring it
in
on.
my heart of hearts, as a Phillies fan, I'm sitting here saying, "Bring on the Dodgers! Come on, baby, let's
God.
see it."
especially for this show, I hope
But-
that happens.
Oh my God, I would love it. 5-game series, Phillies, Dodgers, and I swear, look, I get a lot of grief for apparently being a Dodger hater,
As
even
you
though
should.
I mean, I think I talk good about you guys just as much as I talk bad. That's just my own personal thought process.
But overall, you were talking about them, so
I guess
that's
but
all that matters.
that's all that matters.
They're like Raider fans, dude.
Exactly. But that's my point. I saw a video over the weekend, okay, of a Dodger fan taking shots at Padre fans as they are known to do. And again, I understand because as a Phillies fan, I took pot shots at the Mets as I should have done because thank God for the Miami Marlins.
Right.
Fish are friends, not food, baby. And they went out of their way just to make sure the Mets didn't make the playoffs. I'll explain that after the break. But at this point, seeing videos of Dodger fans point out comments of Padre fans saying that they were going to win the division and acting high and mighty and acting as if they were never in danger. God, this is it's fans like that that make me hope and pray you guys fall flat on your face. I know not all of you are like that. That's not what I'm saying, nor am I attacking your fan base. But I'm just saying you have to understand, much like you guys get when people talk like that about your team, y'all don't need to be pointing out other people's faults. You didn't exactly skate into the playoffs here, guys. There were dangers there. And you went from the team that everybody was harping to be the best team in baseball, 162-0. Nobody's going to beat the Dodgers, to the third best team in the NL. And potentially not even in the World Series, depending on the route you have to take. So we will see. I hope it's the Dodgers. I know it's going to be the Dodgers. Let's be honest.
I know it doesn't matter right now.
It
'cause
really
they're
doesn't.
all 0-0, and we'll take our break. We'll get into the rest of that. Plus, we've got 4 or 5 texts with World Series predictions that we can
Fantastic.
go over right after
90% are
this
Dodgers.
on Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. Final segment of the day here on the Early Bird Special. I just got wind of a new Netflix documentary. The next one's going to be coming out for you baseball fans. October 21st. Who killed the Montreal Expos? I'm actually very curious about this one. Now, granted,
Bret Hart.
that's probably part of it. No, somebody who was born in 93, obviously the Expos were great in 94. I didn't get to live through those years, but I've always been curious how the team of the Montreal Expos did end up in, Washington, D.C. as the Nationals. And to be honest with you, I'm always down for any new sports documentary that Netflix has dropped. They have all been fantastic. Every single one I've watched. And, not a sports documentary, but the Charlie Sheen one, fantastic. He will be coming to Bakersfield, by the way, for you Bakersfield people, along with he's coming with Megan Kelly, whatever her name was. It's a political thing.
Okay,
it was a political
I know what you're
grouping
talking
that it was supposed to be Charlie Kirk, but for obvious reasons, it is now
subbed him out for
Charlie Sheen.
What the hell?
I guess. I could say something. I'm not gonna, because
Winning.
again, Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk, and I respected Charlie, so I'm not gonna say anything.
I also saw the Simpsons sequel is coming out.
Yeah, we're getting a Simpsons 2, even though no one asked for this.
An Aussie documentary is supposed to be streaming here next week.
We asked for. That one we asked for. I'm always down for an Aussie documentary.
There's a lot going on, but
I would love to see some behind the scenes of that show. My God, the Osbournes must have been a fire hazard.
There is one on Prime right now that is behind the scenes of the Osbourne show.
Oh, okay,
that's pretty
cool.
good. But
I'm gonna have to watch that one. I missed that one.
Some of these texts before we get into the baseball predictions. One said, "Are the Eagles really, really good, or is it something else? Defense seems to be carrying them, and it's weird. How can you win and not complete a pass? Hurts. It's hard to say Hurts is elite."
You clearly have either been listening and just wanted to parrot me, or haven't been listening at all, because I've been saying that for the last 2 days.
The last one says, "Last thing I see in wrestling is I want to see Mickey Mouse come out at the Royal Rumble."
Oh my God, that would be fantastic. But
I mean, we've seen
again,
worse.
Keep Disney away from my wrestling. I realize ESPN is bought and owned by Disney. I don't need Disney writers at WWE.
I want to see Peacemaker.
Yes. I mean, again,
let's Cena retire and then come out as Peacemaker.
That would actually be fantastic. And there is rumor that he's going to stretch this retirement tour to WrestleMania.
I hope so.
Because, I mean,
it's the only good thing that we've gotten.
Bubba made a good point. It's only 4 months, and why wouldn't you? Especially if, say, he comes out Saturday night's main event and loses again. Maybe he gets Brock one more time at WrestleMania. That would probably make it the biggest WrestleMania. It really would.
Some of our World Series predictions.
Yes, let's hear some of these.
The first one says Brewers over the Blue Jays.
Ooh, that's a different one. I like that. Although, again,
deep.
number 1 seeds. I would love to see the Blue Jays make it there. I don't know. Usually it's kind of fallen flat in the playoffs. And same with the Brewers. I've said it many times. The Brewers are the Minnesota Vikings of baseball. They will make you love them throughout the entire regular season. Statistically, will be one of the best teams. Then the playoffs come around and it's like they didn't even deserve to be there.
The next one says Yankees win it all and wouldn't doubt it if it was over the Dodgers.
God, that would stick in the craw of a lot of Dodger fans. But again, I don't think Yankees are going to get that far. You guys have had a very good streak this year and have been able to hold on to that wild card spot. But playing the Red Sox first, that should be a little concerning to you. Playing a team that knows you very, very well, no matter how good of a year you've had, they know how to beat you. So we'll see how that ends up, starting with tonight's game.
The next one says World Series prediction, Seattle and the Dodgers, but the Dodgers take it in 6.
Oh, I would hate that, but I would love to see Sparky Seattle Mariners in the and actually I saw Ben Verlander. His prediction was actually Seattle and Philly. With like Philly winning, and I would love. I mean, we've talked about that on this show. We would love that. I'll rename the show all week the World Series show.
Last one says Red Sox versus the Cubs in the World Series. Called it right here on Early Bird.
If you saw Red Sox and Cubs in the World Series, the rapture is definitely happening. We want to talk about 2 clubs with the worst curses of all baseball going against each other for a World Series. I granted both of them have been able to break said curse in the last decade and a half, 2 decades. But Cubs and Red Sox would break the world. I don't think anybody would be ready for that. I really don't. I like those predictions, though. I'm glad we didn't get all just Dodgers win, Dodgers win. Look, man, I am a respecter of the Dodgers. I am. But, man, does it get overwhelming sometimes when you just hear that every single day. And it makes me laugh every single time they fall short.
That's why I want the Phillies and Dodgers.
100%. Because, again,
get it over with.
12 times in 13 years, that's a great thing to hold up there. But they don't give banners for how many times you win the NL West. And last time I checked, you guys haven't exactly been racing to World Series in the last couple of years. I mean, you won one during COVID, but it is what it is. I'm going to just leave it at that. Karma comes for us all. And I would love to see the Dodgers and Phillies just solely to see the swing off between Shohei and Kyle Schwarber. I mean, at this point, it'll be the MVP, whoever wins that series, in my opinion. But I know they're going to give it to Shohei because Shohei pitches at the same time. And I still I'm going to die on this hill. And I'll probably die alone on this hill, but I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to incorporate the fact that Shohei pitches, especially since not every player does it. Like, it's not fair.
Cal's a catcher. Does that mean he gets it because he's the only
That's
catcher?
my point. Like, Cal should get it regardless just because of the year he's had. But they're probably going to argue that Aaron Judge deserves it too. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Cal has 60 home runs. The year Aaron gave him got 60 home runs, you immediately said him.
Yeah, he's a shoo-in.
It wasn't even a question. Like, don't get me wrong, there were pundits that were obviously throwing around other names because they don't want to just hand it to the guy. But you did it for Aaron. Why not do it for Cal? Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, Shohei and Kyle, again, both of them notoriously great home run hitters, probably the best slugger on their team. The only thing that really separates them is the fact that Shohei pitches. And again, I personally don't feel like that's a fair comparison. I don't. Just for the fact of if Kyle did pitch during the season, then I'd be able to say you could use that as an example. Because obviously they are on the same level of playing field here. But to add on his pitching status, which honestly, let's be honest, was it amazing? Was it great? I know of one game in which he had no hit for their 5 innings, but he hasn't even pitched past 5 innings. He hasn't pitched enough to even win. I mean, he won one, but still, he hasn't pitched enough regularly to say he'd be winning games. So should it even be something you use towards the MVP voting? I don't know. Again, I'll die on this hill alone if I have to. And as I say on the TRBS show every single day, although I know my guy's not going to win, but I'm a Philly fan, so I'm going to die with my boy no matter what. So Kyle will always have a supporter on this show. We got to get out of here, though. That is all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow, 7 to 9, as always. We'll be talking to our guy, Salvador Bruno from 559 Fights. He'll be returning, talking about his upcoming fight at 559 118 coming up in a couple weeks. Can't wait to talk to him and catch up with what he's been doing. But until then, this has been the Early Bird Special. We got to get out of the way for Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.